because we didn't think we are going to make it to 20, but we really didn't think we are going to make it to 20. So it's really wonderful to see that we're still here and that we are not only here, but growing. And so there's many people around you have our old friends, our old members of the unit, people who have gone around the world to other things. So as you talk among yourself, you'll discover that some of you have a strong and long connection with us, and others are starting their strong and long connection with us. So just to get us going, just to fully understand, how many of you are here primarily as patients or patient representatives? Very good. Okay, so you have a few.
We have some online as well.
Yes, excellent. The folks online, I can't see your hands up, but I'm going to be grateful. There's two raised hands. Okay, great, excellent. How many of you are here as researchers? Okay, there's so many of you are here as researchers. How many of you are here as clinicians? Yeah, so many of you are here as clinicians as well. Excellent. And how many of you are here just for the party? There you go, most of you. That is wonderful. Excellent. So welcome all of you. We're going to start our session with perhaps the most extreme spin-off, so to speak, or extreme beneficiary of the work that the Care Unit has been doing over the years. So you see, as a research unit, we've produced, I don't know, several thousand, maybe close to 2,000 papers, give or take different faculty members of the Care Unit. Many of those papers have been cited quite significantly. And yet, some of the problems that that animated our work back in 2005 are still with us. And that is a source of significant frustration. And in trying to understand why is it that those problems remain with us, why is it that after all that research, not only of our unit, but around the world in patient-centered care, that healthcare is not about the patients centrally, we started to think about the fact that the healthcare system in which this thing should be picked up and implemented may not be set up to actually offer patient-centered care well. And it was not just important that we conducted this research and that we published this research and that we went around the world disseminating what we found, but it was also important to fundamentally transform the healthcare system so that it is able to pick up these insights and then transform them into patient care. To that end, a few years back, an initiative that many of you have been part of or continue to be part of was born as a separate entity. And today we get to hear about where this initiative has gone, where it's going. And of course, there's an implicit and eventually will become an explicit invitation for you to join the patient revolution. And to get us started, Sheila Delaney Moroni is the executive director of the Patient Revolution. She is a long time, and that's old, they are long time executive in healthcare. I met Sheila, or I was first impressed by Sheila when I started hearing of what she did to make sure that Hennepin Health, which is Hennepin County, is the inner city county in Minneapolis, which is a hospital dedicated to serve the most underserved in that city, how that institution would lean and look towards those it was supposed to serve and organize its services to be sensitive and responsive to their needs and concerns. And the person that was actually bringing the voice of that community into the healthcare system was Sheila. And as a result, she achieved a very significant visibility nationally and is a recognized expert in patient-centered care. And it was one of the best decisions ever made by this organization to invite Sheila to lead the organization, and is now our executive director. Sheila.
I don't know where I should stand here.
Yeah. So just so you know, we may want to do it this way because this is a video is for folks. So if you're kind of tilted this way, it should. Right. Yes, perfect.
I can use this then. If I'm gonna stand
Okay,
here.
if you're gonna stand
Yeah,
up.
I'm fine. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Trying to figure out what time of day it is. Wonderful to see you all, and thank you, Victor, for that laudatory introduction, way more than I deserve. I am Sheila Maroney, and I'm the Executive Director of the Patient Revolution, and I'm joined here today by someone you probably all know already, way before I did, and that's Maggie Breslin, and we're going to introduce our co-star in a few minutes, who's going to share her story with all of you. So we're here. Before I was part of the Patient Revolution, I led the patient experience efforts at Hennepin, and it was truly my avocation, my passion, my vocation to get up every day to make sure that people were paying attention to what was a meaningful experience for patients and for their families. And it was a slog, I have to say. It was a really, it was a hard nut to crack to convince a long-standing institution, I think it was 140 years old by the time I got there, that we really truly needed to listen, not only listen, but hear what patients and families were saying, and then in turn, incorporate it into the way we designed and delivered and paid for our healthcare. It is certainly not done. I certainly did not accomplish all of my goals, but I think I, together with my small team of one other person, we made some inroads. And along the way, I was lucky enough to meet Victor. He came and presented, I think at Hennepin Grand Rounds, perhaps, invited by Mark Linzer, who many of you know. And I thought, oh, there are people out there who really talk like this, who are actually dedicating their lives to shared decision-making and making care that fits. So I was immediately captivated. So found my way to the Patient Revolution. And I have always longed to be in a room of people like you, people who are truly dedicated to bringing this work to life. And it will be a grand day when we all succeed and that patients and their families truly have what is person-centered for them and what is meaningful for them. So today we're talking about care that fits. And the most important message you're going to hear today is from Amy Gilliland, who's our we're very grateful, is going to join me at the podium in a few minutes. I'm going to try to go quickly around the Patient Revolution because it's her story that is really, I think, the most apropos for this audience. We're very proud of our association with the Care Unit. It certainly lends a lot of credibility to our work. We're a very nascent organization, as Victor described, and knowing when we can say that we are partners with the Care Unit, when we can reference your work and proudly say that we're affiliated, it really is an uplifting experience for us. And it certainly gets the attention of many people that we speak to around the world, literally. So I hope today, by sharing a bit about the Patient Revolution and where we are today, there are two things I'd love for you to do, and Victor already named both of them, but I'll reiterate. One is think about how we might partner together. Are you working on a project through which our community of about 2,000 people might be of benefit to your work, or they may have insights that you might want to tap into? So how can we partner together? And then secondly, how can you individually participate in the Patient Revolution? Lots of different opportunities and ways for you to participate. So as I said, I'm going to try to go fast so we can have Amy, who is truly the star of this show, spend time talking with you. So let's see, how do I advance here? I might.
There's multiple.
There's too many different choices. Yeah, I did.
There you go.
All right, thank you. Okay, so our mission is stated here. We are the backbone for a global movement that turns away from industrialized healthcare and turns towards careful and kind care for all. The way we do that is we help people get exposed to new ways of thinking, speaking, and decision-making about how healthcare is designed, delivered, and paid for. And our theory of change is not that we are not an improvement organization. We are not the change agents for to bring careful and kind care to life, but rather we cultivate and equip a global community. Since all healthcare is local, it's not for us I'm here in Minnesota, Maggie's in New York, we have another colleague in Boston. It's not for us to decide how healthcare should be in communities around the country and around the world. It is for the people who are working and living and receiving and delivering care in those communities. So our job is to lift all of you and to lift all of them. We have what I call our emerging brand, and these are concepts and ideas and feedback we've heard from other people. And I won't read them all, but I would say the first one is one of the most important discoveries, I guess, that we have stumbled upon merely from the fact that over and over and over again, no matter what the background of the person is who has come to join the patient revolution, is they say, often for the first time, you have given me hope. You have given me hope that there's a community of people who think like me. You have given me hope that I am not the reason that my healthcare experience failed. You have given me hope as a clinician that you are caring about the environment in which I practice. You have given me hope that there is a different kind of future for healthcare and I can be part of it. And you can see the other things that are emerging as our brand, and clearly that's not a very good tagline, although those 17 bullets, but these are the concepts that we're hearing a lot about from our community about why they're joining the patient revolution. I hope some of them resonate with you. So you all probably have heard this from Victor many, many times and others in the room, but this is our framework for care. So our idea is to turn away from industrialized healthcare, which is reflected by the pathologies of care. I know these are words you're all very familiar with. Many of you are digging deep and researching on these words around blur, burden, hurry, cruelty. And we are together trying to move the world to a place of careful and kind care, where biology and biography are central, where shared decision-making is a common practice and something that people are experiencing every day, where the burden is lessened, both for the burden of treatment, and I always add the burden of administrative tasks, both for the patients as well as for the clinicians, and where unhurried conversations are an automatic privilege of the clinician and the patient working together. So this is a quote from our collective fearless leader. One response to the crisis of care is to assume that this is a crisis of organization, efficiency, information, technology, and scale. And this is what I lived in my inside of the hospital system. This is what we worked on. We worked on improving processes. We worked on eliminating waste. We worked on reorganizing departments and creating matrices and all of the sort of process and organizational functions. And if we could only make those more efficient, everything would be better. And indeed, getting waste out of healthcare is a very, very important part of improvement, but it certainly doesn't deliver the ultimate aim that should be central to all of healthcare, and that is an ability to care and to be cared for. And so we believe that this is a crisis of care itself. So we've organized our work and the way that we talk about the healthcare ecosystem into 3 levels. We certainly believe that we have to infiltrate every level of the ecosystem with our revolution, because if you've lived or worked in any one of these layers, you recognize that no matter how good your idea is or how much improvement you've achieved or how awesome your research findings are, you're always going to bump up against something or somebody who is going to make a decision that may undermine the uptake of your great idea or your experience or your improvement effort. And so we think it's really important to not only focus on the relationship between the patient and the clinician, that's the point of care, and all of the people around them. So the clinic managers, the people who design the buildings, the people who manage the IT systems, they're all the support network around the point of care. Very, very important place to focus. It's as important to also bring greater awareness about the unintended consequences of industrialized healthcare and the potential that careful and kind care brings to the executive level, to the clinical leaders, to the board members. So often, people are making decisions, and I've sat in those rooms as a presenter, not necessarily as a participant in a boardroom, but so often they're making decisions sort of in a vacuum, and they don't really truly understand the trickle-down effect and the unintended consequences of their decisions. So we think it's important to continue to increase awareness about the impact of what they're talking about, what's on their agenda, and how they're making decisions. And then ultimately, we call them the influencers. We all are influencers, but there's also a layer in the ecosystem of pretty powerful forces that include payers and policymakers and elected officials, and even the media can inform how the public thinks about healthcare and how the elected officials think about healthcare. So this is how we organize our work, and you may find yourself in any one of these three layers. But we really think it's important to get to all three of them in our future strategy. So we have 4 strategic priorities. The first one is the community, which is to grow and nurture a global community. And one of the most exciting things about this organization that I haven't never experienced before, and I've been involved in a lot of improvement initiatives, is that we are bringing, everybody is an equal partner at the table. We are bringing together patients and clinicians and researchers and educators and policymakers, and all healthcare sectors are represented here. So often I have been in rooms where, well, let's have the patients work on this, and the patients are advocating for this, and let's have the clinicians work on this, and never the twain shall meet. So we're bringing them together, and what is emerging from that conversation is we actually all really want the same thing. We actually all really want to care and to be cared for. And it's been a really interesting experience, I think, particularly for the patients who are being invited, and Amy can attest to this, I hope, being invited to bring their voice to the table, and having serious consideration of their contribution to the conversation. Our second strategic initiative is a school. We don't have very clever names for our programs, but they're easy to understand. So the second is the school. And this is the part about equipping and lifting up and empowering the care activists around the world who are interested in making radical change happen. And then third is a greenhouse. And you can also, everyone in this room can find a place for themselves in any one of these strategic priorities, but in particular, the greenhouse, which is really at the very beginning of its evolution, is the place where we want to develop ideas and tools and interventions that bring careful and kind care to life. So this is where I see the opportunity for us to do a lot of cross-fertilization, not to bang on the metaphor too much. But I think this is a really nice place for us to continue talking about how to evolve our relationship. And then finally, because we are so new, you typically don't see operations as a strategic priority, but we're new in the development of our infrastructure. There, Maggie and Victor and others who have been with the Patient Revolution for a long time have been working on a lot of fabulous ideas and strategies and initiatives over many, many years. In the last 2 years, I would say 2.5 years, we've really put some structure around it. And one of the opportunities we have is to raise more money to support our future state. And so that's why operations is a key strategic priority. So I won't read each of these slides. I think they'll get access to them, Casey. Can they get access to them?
Yeah, so we archive the conference and all the slides.
Okay.
Afterwards.
All right, so you can see generally the scope of activities under each of these areas, and you can dig into them a little bit more after the conference if you're interested in learning more. This is an important slide, though, and that's to say that, as I mentioned, we have 2,000 constituents in 28 countries so far. So if you don't see yourself represented in one of these icons, please raise your hand and join the revolution so we can add your country to our list. We've got lots of programs and services that are evolving for the community. We have a town hall forum to which we'd like to invite you on October 3rd. It's a virtual gathering of thought leaders and full of great inspiration. We have fellows monthly meetings, on the move gatherings, and I really truly invite you all to join. An easy way to get access is sign up for a monthly newsletter. Pretty benign to just get a monthly email from us. This is the town hall notification, and so if you want to snap a picture of it or talk to Maggie and I afterwards, we'll make sure to get you on the mailing list so you can get an invitation. The school offers a Foundations of Care. I'm going to emphasize that. It's a 10-hour virtual course that happens over the course of 4 weeks. We have 9 or 10 cohorts a year. You can do it, it's asynchronous, so you can do it anywhere you want, anytime you want over the course of that month. And it's really a powerfully rich experience. So if anybody's interested in reinforcing what you already know about careful and kind care, contributing to the conversation, and learning from people who again are representing all healthcare sectors, I strongly recommend participating in Foundations of Care. So these are just 4 summaries of the courses and the curriculum behind them. And then that brings me to the greenhouse. So you can see here, this is our dream state for what the greenhouse will look like. Research and evidence collective is a very important part of what we want to be to others. So it's not that we're doing original research, but that we are amplifying the research you are already doing. And because of our extensive community, we hope that we can identify people who might be other contributors and other partners for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about, well, the virtual library is a cool thing you should look at, and I'm going to give kudos to Maggie because she's the designer and author of the library. And if you have a story that you'd like to share, it includes presentations, it includes research papers, it includes personal stories, anything that you would like to share with our community. It's open access, and we'd love to hear from you and include your story or your research output. This is a picture of the library. And then mini revolutions are a place I want to end and land. This is the emergence of a strategy for the 2000 care activists who are currently involved with us. We have 80 people who have said, I have an idea for a mini revolution. I'm already working on it, or I have a dream of something, or I have a specific idea. I just need some help elevating. I need some help. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to launch my change effort, or what we call mini revolutions. So we did a little prototyping. It was really, really a powerful experience. And what emerged from it was the affirmation that people need the patient revolution, and they need expertise like yours to help them design and understand how to implement change. And just to give you a taste of what they look like, there's a lot of writing on here. I know this goes against all the rules for slides. But grab one, just eyeball one of these quadrants, and you can see a sample of what people are saying. So there are 80 of these in our database right now, people who have declared what kind of work they're going to do to advance careful and kind care in the world. And I only picked 4 that had a little hint of some research agenda in it, just so that you could all see it and try to relate it to you as the audience. We'd be very happy to talk with you and share with you the catalog of mini revolutions that people have said they would like to start or they have underway, and there may be some connection to your work. So, opportunities to get involved. You can start with making a donation. That would be an awesome way to get involved. And then you can see the rest of the ways that you can get involved. Lots of ways that don't cost money. And that is really one of our guiding principles, is we want the patient revolution in our community to be open to all. At present, we give everything away for free. I don't know if that's a sustainable business model, but hurry while it's free. You can join now. And we'd be happy to have you. So in the interest of raising money to support the patient revolution, we've developed a little video. And I don't know if you guys know, but Victor actually thinks he is Antonio Banderas. And so we just decided to feature him in a little mini movie. He doesn't really look like him, but I wanted to show you his star power anyway.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that our online folks, can you unmute and tell us if you could hear that audio for the video playing?
No, we can't.
Okay, so I want to share this differently for that.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Okay, so let me share again. And now, yes, share sound, optimize for video.
Optimize the video. So are you controlled?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, and then maybe I can make this go away. Q&A. Okay. Go right there.
And then-
Yes, hide floating
Yeah.
meeting controls. Okay, now we get rid of those. All right, I think we're back in action. All right, online folks, I'm gonna start it now, and I'm gonna pause it quickly, and you let me know if you can still hear it.
2/3 of a
Did you hear that audio?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Excellent. Thanks, guys, for patience on this hybrid. So we're getting
This is a
there.
big buildup.
Yeah, exactly. Now you gotta watch Victor for real.
American physicians today report feeling burned out.
Some of the worst health
The
outcomes.
system prioritizes industrial efficiency as much as actual care.
Hi, I'm Victor Montori, a co-founder of the Patient Revolution. After years of trying to bring careful and kind care to my patients, I decided to write a book about what is getting in the way of care and what might we do about it. I didn't know if these ideas would resonate, but I've met hundreds of people around the world who are equally frustrated and even demoralized by the current state of healthcare. The Patient Revolution was born out of the certainty that most people will at some point encounter blur, hurry, cruelty, and burden, when what they really want is care. Our mission is to embolden a global community of care activists, patients, clinicians, executives, to work together to transform healthcare from an industrial activity into a deeply human one. When we began our work, we did not know how quickly our impact would grow. We now have thousands of care activists involved. We're inspiring people to be bold and to create the conditions for care wherever they work and seek care. Transformational change happens one person, one relationship, one innovation at a time, but the lasting impact can only be realized by bringing together all of these relationships and innovations and care activists. Our school equips and empowers people who know change is needed. Our community convenes innovators and fosters collaboration. And our greenhouse, a think and do tank, stimulates radical change ideas and policy debates. We have the basic building blocks in place for a revolution, but we cannot take this to the next level without you. If you desire careful and kind care for yourself and for your loved ones, please consider donating generously by going to patientrevolution.org. All gifts will be welcomed with gratitude from $10 to $10,000 or more, and will be used to advance our vital work on behalf of careful and kind care for everyone everywhere. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor.
2/3 of American
It was so good. We're going to watch it again. How do I get to the next slide? Sorry.
No problem.
So without further ado, I'm going to invite Maggie and Amy to come to the podium.
Okay, you should be able to just click through now. I don't know if that's working. You don't know if that's working. It is
Oh,
working.
great. Perfect. I'll go over here. Amy, you can get ready and come up because I'm going to do this quickly. So my name is Maggie. I'm the creative and program director for Patient Revolution and an early alumna of the care unit. And Sheila, I think, did an amazing job giving you a little bit of an overview of what Patient Revolution is. But we really thought that one of the best ways for you to understand it and experience it would be to hear from one of our fellows. So Amy is one of our fellows. She brings with her, she wears many hats and a lot of both professional and lived experience as a researcher, as a patient, as a person living with chronic conditions. And she had a opportunity born of kind of out of the blue to kind of combine all of those hats, wear them together, and explore from a patient perspective, what does patient-centered care and what's some of the work that patients do in a hospital. And I thought that you were the perfect audience really to hear this work. I think it expands your idea of what does it mean to do research.
and may also give you guys some ideas for collaborations. And so with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Amy.
Thanks, Maggie.
And that's
Okay, great. Hi. Hi. Let's see. So this moves. Okay. So my name is Amy Gilliland. I have a doctorate degree in human development and family studies, and I am currently a research fellow at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the School of Human Ecology in the Center for Nonprofit and Community Studies. That's where they found a home for me. What happened to me? So I just want to tell you a little bit about myself because I think that's going to help situate my story. I've been a doula, a birth doula, since the mid-1980s. So I spent over 30 years watching clinicians make decisions. I spent 30 years advocating for people, for helping them to find their voice in medical care. I have done death doula work. I have done medical advocacy work. I've been to many, many different kinds of appointments with my friends and my relatives, helping them to figure out what they needed to get out of visits. Okay. I also have a graduate certificate in pre and perinatal psychology. I'm an ASEX certified sexuality educator supervisor. I've taught over 3,000 hours of human sexuality education. I'm an infant mental health expert. And I do doula training. I've trained over 2,000 people to be doulas in the last 25 years. Okay. So that's kind of like my perspective. So I've worked on the fringes of healthcare for many years. I'm a nurse educator. I'm what they call approved to the state of California. And what I have done mostly is what nurses tell me is that what I learned in your trainings was all the patient care skills that I never learned in nursing school, was all the communication stuff, was all the soft skills, was all the stuff about how to listen, how to make the most of the 5 minutes that I've got with this person, how to read them, how to figure out what do they need. That's what I do for a living, okay? And my tagline for my work is transforming, it didn't make it into here, but is transforming research into practice. That's why I do what I do. That is what my life's purpose is. I read journals for fun. They're fun for breakfast even. I'm reading about an endocrinology journal. Oh my gosh, what's happening in the laboring brain here? Tell me more about this. And then I try to package that and put that together into palatable educational products. I am married. And if you like diagnoses, there's a whole bunch here on the bottom. Autism to me is not a spectrum disorder, it is a cluster disorder. Okay, so rather than a line, there are certain specific clusters of behaviors and symptoms that tend to co-occur together. And it's only now when we're releasing the stigma about autism that, when I was diagnosed by my physician in 2018, he says, only men have autism. Women are neurodivergent. He says, you're very neurodivergent. You got a sensory processing disorder. You got this, you got that. He says, I bet right now your brain's doing 4 different things at the same time. And one of those is trying to help you stand up straight so you don't collapse. And I said, yes. It's the first time somebody read me and get it. Like right now, part of my brain is counting up how many people have black hair in the room. All right. And is there a pattern to the way you sat? Where's the only blonde? It's like, and that is something that's going on here while I'm talking, while I'm paying attention to make sure I'm in the tiny square here of the camera for the people at home. Okay. It's like all of that is happening at the same time. My brain looks for patterns. So as an autistic person, my perseveration is human behavior. So that made it very easy for me to mask. It also means that I am never bored. Okay, there's always another human in front of me willing to tell me their story if I ask the right question. So you guys fascinate me because I don't understand you innately. I don't understand myself innately, okay? It took years of study to get to that point. So then what happens to me, and my patient story is not the story that I'm sharing here to do. What I'm sharing with you is that 2 years ago, I fell down a flight of stairs with a piece of exercise equipment and I broke my leg and I injured my foot. Okay. and I was 1,000 miles away from home. And there was a security guard there in the building who called the ambulance for me. And I had a lot of vitamin K and a lot of ketamine. And I credit that ketamine for the fact that my traumatic memories did not lodge like every other traumatic experience I'd had in my brain. And I talked about it with several trauma therapists afterwards. And I said, why is it that I don't feel like all of this, why don't I feel this angst? Like when I was in this car accident in 1986, and I still can't get over those feelings. And it's like, why didn't this lodge the same way? And the only difference I can say is because of the ketamine. So for me, I found that to be a significant experience in my healing from the trauma and my willingness to accept it. So this is me, I think, the day or 2 days after I fell down the stairs. I had a mild concussion. I didn't want to know what my diagnosis was. I didn't want to know the extent of my injury. I felt it isn't going to make a darn bit of difference in the type of care that I'm getting from you guys, whether I know what's going on with me or not. Because this is kind of like, if this is happening, then this is happening, then this is happening. So that was a specific decision that I made. It was like, don't tell me what's wrong with me. I remember the surgeon was going to tell me, I said, I don't really want to know. And he looked at me. I said, it's not going to make any difference in what you do, is it? He's like, well, no. And I said, well, great, because I'm going to be a lot happier being ignorant. And that's the way that I remained. It wasn't until I had 3 days post, so I'm there, and I had a nursing student, very enthusiastic nursing student, come in. She says, oh, you're my patient of the day. I'm going to write up about you. It's not too often we see somebody who's almost lost their foot. And I was like, I almost lost my foot? Oh, wow, this is really bad. And so I mentioned that because we're talking about what happened, all right? So it also was my birthday. So 2 days after the accident. So, and I share these stories with you to kind of situate you in my story. Now, what happened because my memory was poor, because I was traumatized, I wrote everything down. And I ended up spending 3 weeks in 3 different hospitals. So I had a total stay of 21 days in 3 different facilities, okay? I was taken care of, I don't have my statistics in front of me. I had 51 different nurse encounters. So I never had any consistency in terms of who was taking care of me, day shift or night shift, okay? It was always somebody new, okay? So it was always someone new. And I ended up, once I got done and I was discharged and I was home and I was healing, I looked at my notes and I said, I have all this information about all of these tasks that I had to do. And I also realized that because of my interactions with nurses over all of these decades and my deep understanding of the work and the system issues that are part of your lives daily and how that influences care and what you're able to offer patients and how much you're able to listen to them and what your time constraints are and when you're thinking about the next patient and whether you have to be available to do surgery. And those are the kind of things that occur to me in perinatal care, when I'm thinking about my providers. Anyway, what the other piece that happened to me was because since I had so many different nurses taking care of me, I had an experience on day 5 in the first hospital where I had a nurse who didn't like me. And it was obvious in the first 3 minutes, she made a joke and I didn't laugh. I didn't know it was a joke. And so then she said something, and then I said something back to kind of soften it, and it wasn't received well. And she kind of left the room kind of huffy. And I was like, okay, well, that didn't go well. And then when I wanted my pain medication, she didn't come. And she didn't come for 20 minutes. And when I called again, a CNA was sent in, and she said to me, well, she said that you should have told her before you needed it that you were going to need it. And right now she's busy with somebody else. So you have to wait. I ended up waiting an hour and a half. By that time, my pain was a 9. And I had to give 3 doses of Dilaudid in order to get back to a 5. And that was the first time that happened to me. That was not the only time that happened to me. And I realized that if my nurse didn't like me, I wasn't going to get the care that I needed. And because I have autism, it's harder for me to read people. But I also have skills because I have to do this all the time. I have to figure out what's needed in this particular encounter for this to go successful, whether I'm buying, if I'm getting onto a plane, you know, that's an interaction. If I'm purchasing groceries, that's an interaction. If I'm going through the person at Walgreens, if I'm ordering food and the waiter comments on what I'm ordering, it's like, what do I say? Because I want my food and I don't want you to do anything bad to it. And I kind of want you to like me. And it's like, and so I'm always constantly trying to figure out what's the right script, what's the right script, what's the right script. And that really served me because I was able to type all of my nurses. One of the things that my husband is certified in motivational interviewing, is an LCSW. So motivational interviewing is kind of like in the back of my head all the time. So I started to do it automatically with these nurses. When they would arrive, I would say, oh, so what brought you to work today? Or what was something exciting that happened before you got here? Or, you know, how's your day going so far? And that little glimpse would give me an idea of, okay, this is why these people are here. And how can I play into that so that I can get my meds? One of the things that if I stop this share and I go to do you want to do that one? Yeah, let's do that table right now. Okay.
This is of the nurses.
Yeah. So just pull up the PDF. So what I found that there were 6, whoops, I have to be like here. You gotta look at Maggie for the moment. I found that there were 6 personality profiles. So for the nurses. One was, I am logically and I am rationally motivated. So that's why I'm here, okay? One of them was, I'm here to do a good job. I'm not really invested in the workplace. I'm not invested in my colleagues. I'm here to get the job done because that's what I'm here to do. Those are almost traveling nurses who had that. I had nurses who were there so they didn't have to be there. Those were almost my favorites because they were really experienced nurses, and they were there, and I would ask them, oh, what happened to your life? And they would talk about coding, they would talk about their grandkids, they would talk about anything but work. Okay, they did great. I got great care, but it was a matter of how can I work with you so that I'm going to get what I need optimized. I found this worked across all 3 hospitals in 2 different states. Right? Did you manage to find it?
Yep.
Okay. So, to do a good job, then do what is in my job description. Then there was the second one there, which is called the care for people. I am here to care for you. I want to hear your story. I want to hear what's going on with you. The checked out ones were the ones that I said were very experienced, but they were there to do their work in order to leave. Then there were the power players. Those are the ones who were very manipulative. Okay, those are the ones that if I didn't do something on time or in the order that they wanted, I was punished. And at Hospital B, there was this big thing about the towels, the CNAs and the towels, that I couldn't have towels. And when I wanted to take a shower, because I wanted to take a shower when the water was hot, which was around 10 or 11 in the morning. And I could take a shower by myself. I didn't need help, but they wanted me to shower between 5 and 6 a.m. And I'm like, but this is one of the only times I can kind of get a nap in or sleep, you know, after morning meds and before breakfast. And I was like an hour and a half in there. And the water was cold because everybody else was bathing. So I said, just leave me the towels. Well, that wouldn't work. And so I don't know why. I don't know why. I can't tell you this, but I can tell you that these power struggles existed. In each facility, there was something that I stumbled into that I didn't feel had anything to do with me, but yet was a driver of the quality of my care. You know? So, and the checked out power players, the ones that didn't want to be at work, which also wanted me to be a particular kind of patient. for example, day 14, I'm ready to check out of the hospital the next day. I get a new night nurse. Every time I urinate, she wants me to ring the bell and let her know. Every single time. So that's like every 2 hours because I'm extremely well hydrated. All right. So, and I'm like, why do you want it? Like, nobody else wanted to know this. And then she wanted to come in and she wanted me to put the cowboy hat in and measure it. And I'm like, but there's nobody else. Well, it was just because that was the way she wanted things. So that's what I talk about when I talk about power players, that they had their own way that had nothing to do with the relationship with me or with the care that I got, but yet was all about what they needed in order to do their job well. So that's the way I interpreted it. I said, this is what this person needs in order to get a good experience from me. So what I did then was when I got out of the hospital and I was healing and I was processing all of this, I realized, okay, I wonder what else is in the motivational literature about nurse motivations to be at work. I wonder if my 6 profiles actually correlate with what's been said about nurse motivation. Ta-da! That's what that chart was about. I found that there are very, very specific items that correlated with each one of these personality profiles. And so I found that they were actually quite valid.
We're almost at the end of our time.
Right.
And,
If you want to go back to the site.
yeah.
Okay.
Where should I go?
Wherever. That's good.
Ever. Okay, perfect.
Right. So the thing this is how I got through. If I didn't have eye goggles, if I didn't have the soundproof things that you use at a gun range, or a construction range, that was how I got through the hospital. That was how noisy it was everywhere. So, and granted, I can't screen out noises because of my autism, but still, it was not a very conducive atmosphere. But these are just things from perspective, all right? I started out, so I got 2 papers out of this. So this is just like, what is it like? This is just my perspective, always in the back seat of the car. So this was what my day was like, and you have this in your handouts. So this is what my typical 24 hours was. As a person with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, I typically sleep 12 hours a day, sometimes 14, okay? And of course, I could only get 7.5 in the hospital. So of the tasks that I had to do, no, I don't want to do that. There we go. So this is how much time I actually spent doing stuff. What you probably think I'm doing is sleeping, resting, meditating with my eyes closed, 8 hours. Maybe I'm spending 4 hours on the phone, arranging things, doing logistics. But I think the other stuff is the self-care task, 3 hours of that, 2 hours of healing tasks, social management tasks, and doing PT or OT, 3.5 hours a day. So what were logistics? These are the things that I had to do that I didn't know I was going to have to do as a patient. And the assumption was that I had a family, I had a competent partner who could do these things for me, that I had a home available to go to, and I had transportation. And none of those things were true, okay? So as far as logistics, the repeated lengthy tasks I had to do was I had to negotiate with insurance companies about coverage and authorizations. I had to talk with my insurance company patient advocate, who was a lifesaver. I had to negotiate with the discharge coordinators. Because I was out of state, they couldn't help me. So they just gave me a list of the things that they would normally be doing, but that they couldn't do. I had to order my meals daily on a phone or a tablet. That took me over 30 minutes every day. And because I have special diet needs, I also had to order food to be delivered to the hospital because the hospital could not meet my food needs. Problem solving. I had to figure out, how do I get my OTC medications and care items, how to get them ordered and delivered to the hospital. I had to have clothing to dress myself and fit over my cast for 2 different climates. I had to do the laundry while I was in the hospital because I didn't have laundry facilities, except the occupational therapist made doing laundry an OT activity. So I was able to do my laundry with the occupational therapist. So that was how they worked around that. If it wasn't for OT, I don't know if I would have made it through. They did all kinds of stuff to just make it workable. Post-discharge wheelchair, locating accessible accommodations, car travel to another state, place to live while living in a wheelchair in another state, medical care after discharge, both the local before traveling home and when I got to another state. And then I got triaged not once, not twice, but 3 times into the wrong clinic and ended up with an infection before I finally went into the ER. Additional aftercare planning. So that was a fail. My medical care after discharge was a fail. Additional aftercare planning, management of a vacant household while in the hospital. Self-care, managing my EDS symptoms and muscle cramps, the daily physical cares, meditation, my meal planning, emotion management, pain management, managing the sensory environment of the hospital, and problem solving in the moment. Healing, the stuff related to my injury, resting and healing after my injury, adapting to the schedule routine of the hospital, managing sleep and sleeping, daily physical and OT, getting around with a wheelchair and a walker, managing my acute trauma symptoms, seeking support from the rehab therapist, and meetings with the care team. Okay, so this is the social management that I needed to do. And I think you guys are probably getting like, all right, you're getting fatigued. You're getting like list fatigue. All right, I don't blame you one bit. Adjusting to a new nurse every 4 to 12 hours. So every 4 to 12 hours for the 3 weeks I was there, I was meeting a new person and figuring out, who are you? What do you want from me? How can I get what I need from you? How can you get what you need from me? All right. And am I going to ever see you again? Am I ever going to see you again? Do I matter to you? How do I matter to you? Why would I matter to you? Why are you here today? Why are you here doing this job? You know, I need to know that because I'm vulnerable. I'm just like you. Only I fell down the stairs and I made a stupid decision to try and move a piece of medical equipment. Anyway, and it's just like, but and then I turned my research skills as a grounded theorist and I've also done a lot of hermeneutics into ethnography. So, and the ethics of the ethic questions that we didn't get to was like, well, you didn't intend to do this. You don't have anybody's permission to do this, but yet it's all my perception. That's the way I owned it in terms of the ethics. Now we get the reviewers at hopefully the BMJ and the other 2 journals that I'm considering the second paper putting that into. But anyway, it's not quite as organized as I wanted this presentation to be. But I think that what I want you to leave with, and I think what Sheila and Maggie wanted you to leave with, was the fact that I really get it about holistically, about why I got the kind of care that I did. And because I had those understandings before I entered into the situation, I was really trying to work with the people and the systems and the power struggles that I found myself in. And I got plenty more stories than what I've shared with you about what happened during that time. But I also want to get to why I started with TPR in the first place, is that, as I said, my goal is to transform research into practice. And I spent over 30 years as a doula. And when nurses tell me, you teach those patient care skills to me that I didn't get anywhere else, I said, that's what I want doctors to be able to have. I want them to be able to know they're going into an experience and that they are going to emerge from that experience transformed with those caregiving skills now integrated intact into who they are, so that next week when they go into the next room in the clinic or in the hospital, they're going to do something different because of the week they've spent with me. So I achieved a dream that I spent, you want to talk about your greenhouse or whatever it was, but it was like, because of you, I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to see. So now I have a 32 CME workshop for providers that is the doula training for providers. So I've written a whole knowledge gap statement, and there's a wonderful quiz that goes with it. But that's what I did. That's the whole reason I started my business, Doulaing the Doula, was for you guys, so that you would have a place to go. You can come with me in Fort Myers. Las Vegas or in Wisconsin Dells. And the brochures are all in the back. Well, it's budget friendly and yeah, anyway. So fine, right. But if you are interested in those things, I've left them there on the back for you, but that's about me. But that's what I am here to do on the planet, is I am here to transform medical care. And when I fell down the stairs, that wasn't my purpose. But Sheila said, oh, no, that's your purpose with us. It's like, you're going to use that for us. So if you're interested in contacting me, you want to see the raw papers, whatever, I'm here, you know, and I'm good at talking. So, all right. So, thank you.